team wasn't going to win, if they didn't make the move, they did not make the move, this team was not, as it was, going to beat the Boston Celtics, going to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, and certainly because of that, not get to the NBA Finals and win. And that's what this franchise is all about right now. That's what Joe Dumars wants to do. So I understood the move, and I know a lot of people were thinking about this year, and that was the one thing that I kept on saying on the radio. I said, I don't think this is a move for this year, guys.
Right.
I don't think this is something that, hey, let's give it one more kick at the can. I think that Joe Dumars, though he'd never come out and say this, you'd never hear Joe come out and say this, I think that Joe Dumars fully realized at the early portion of the season, guys, we still have the same problems. Let's clear some cap space. We can have a lot of room under the cap in 2009, more in particular. I think everybody's looking ahead to 2010, and we'll just change on the fly, because the last thing that I think anybody wants to see happen is to see what happened with the bad boys, where they held on a little too long, and then all of a sudden you had this massive overhaul and rebuilding effort that had to take place.
Sean, how do you blow a 15-point lead with 8 minutes to go?
I don't know.
They have talented players, Sean. I mean, look on the court. They're talented guys. They've won basketball games in the past. They're not that old. I mean, I know they're getting a little older and that sort of thing, but you can't hold on to a 15-point lead with 8 minutes to go.
Well, the worst part was the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, like I said, they look clueless. I mean, out of sync isn't even the right words to use. I mean, they look absolutely clueless.
Amari Stoudemire, and this is the deal. I wish Shep was here because he could yell at me. Amari Stoudemire and Rashid to Phoenix. They're going to give us Amari Stoudemire. We'd have him for a couple of years. Amari, not a great defender, a decent rebounder, a good scorer around the basket. I don't think it's going to happen. Let's just say that it could happen. Would you pull the trigger if you're Joe Dumars?
What was the last part of that? I'm sorry.
Would you pull the trigger on that deal if you could make it happen?
Yeah, I would. I don't think, and again, I don't think that it's an earth-shattering move. But
right.
Again, I think what you're doing is you're continuing the process of changing on the fly. And I think when I say changing on the fly, I'm not even talking about getting the nucleus in here, but they got to get some people out of here. I just think it's time. And for all the things you heard about Rasheed Wallace before he came here, and I can't believe he's been here 5 years already. For all the things you heard about Rasheed Wallace, that bad guy, bad citizen, he's going to get in trouble. Let me tell you something. He's been a model citizen around here.
That's true.
He really has been. He has not gotten in any trouble or anything like that. But I think a change is needed for many, many parts of that. And I always used to joke about the beloved core because if anything went wrong with the Pistons, it was never the players' fault. It was Larry Brown's fault. It was Flip Saunders' fault. It was, now Michael Curry's fault. Although, my goodness, how over his head does he look? But I think it's time to move on from the core. And I'm not saying blow it all up because the Pistons don't need to blow it all up. But
I don't know if it's Pete Skorich, Sean.
There's a difference between rebuilding and
right.
retooling.
I don't know if it's Pete Skorich or who the producer is for the Fox Sports Detroit games, but for the love of God, can you quit showing Curry late in the games, his expression on the face? The poor guy looks like he's about to cry. I don't know. I mean, Flip Saunders, the guys didn't respect them. Do they respect Curry? I don't know. Do you have a better sense of that?
I don't think so. I mean, they all said that. That was the one thing that we heard ad nauseum in the exhibition season in the build up to this season, and that was the one word. It was almost like everybody got in the room and said, "All right, what are we going to do?" Well, let's say respect. Let's use the R word. We respect Mike. We respect Mike. And you're right. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Watching them down the stretch, it's so painful. It's funny because it starts at the top. You have a guy that looks the part of being in so far over his head, and the players go out on the floor, and because of it, they have that same look. So it's a crazy dynamic right now with that team, to say the very least.
Last thing I want to talk about with you, Shawnee, before we let you go, and we're running up against the 8 o'clock hour here on WCSR. We're thrilled to have Sean Baligian with us tonight on WCSR Hillsdale, and we'll hit that forecast again right at 8 o'clock. Before I let you go, I do want to just touch briefly on the Lions because while so many people are becoming Lions-free, I'm not. I'm a
Neither
huge
am I.
Lions fan, and I'm never going to give them up. I appreciated your grounding me a little bit, Shawnee, with Jim Schwartz, because what you did was you reminded me of how excited I was when we got Marinelli, how excited I was when we signed Steve Mariucci to coach this football team. So, I was just starting to nibble on the cornbread a little bit, and you kind of helped a lot of us get a little perspective. And it wasn't in a way that you're saying Schwartz can't get it done,
Sure.
but it was kind of a wait-and-see attitude, right?
Well, and I think that's the best way to describe it. I remember listening to Rod Marinelli talk, and I was drooling because a lot of the things that he was saying, number one, they made sense, and number two, they were what this franchise so desperately needed. And I fell into the trap myself. This franchise has led the world in talk, and it started at the very top with Matt Millen. I mean, I nicknamed him the ATM, All Talk Millen. And, that's what they do. They talk. They tell you what you want to hear. They say they're going to do this. They say they're going to do that, and then it never comes to fruition. So as I sat there listening to Schwartz talk, I went through those same feelings. I like that. Ooh, yeah. Oh, I like hearing a coach say that. So I think for me, that was more perhaps for me than anybody else. Like you, I find myself loving the Lions more and more every year.
Mm-hmm.
I know that doesn't make any sense, but I guess it's the sadomasochist in me that feels that way. But no, really, all kidding aside, I find myself loving the Lions more year after year after year, and I hope that Schwartz is the guy to get a turnaround. It's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
I hope that anybody doesn't think that.
By the way, you mentioned ATM Millen. How great was his commentary around the Super Bowl this year?
I might go vomit. No, really. When I heard him say, you have to build in the trenches.
Yeah, right.
League, I literally, my skin crawled. My skin crawled. But, no, you know what? Hey, listen. You knew he'd be back on TV. I didn't think it would be this soon. He does a good job at it, and I think the reason why he does a good job at it is because it allows him to talk, and he's a great talker.
Schwartz brings in two experienced coordinators in Gunther Cunningham and the guy Linehan from St. Louis. I'm not real familiar with either one of their work, but these are guys with a background. Linehan was actually offered the offensive coordinator job for the 49ers and turned them down, so he was a guy in demand. What's your take on the coordinators and the direction so far?
Well, they're guys with experience, head coaching experience, obviously, and whatnot. And I think they're two good hires. They seem to be doing things the right way right now. And again, I'm going to not only implore you, but certainly I think I'm talking to myself here. Proceed with caution.
Right. Right.
This is still the Lions, and I think they're going to have to show me before I buy into anything.
Oh, Shawnee, when we got Martz, I thought, this is it. It's over now. We got Martz, the mad scientist, is coming to town, and we're just going. I remember Wayne Fonts one time, a great quote. He said, our offense needs to slow down. We're scoring touchdowns too fast. I thought those days were coming back again, and you talk about wait and see. That just didn't come to fruition, so we do have to wait and see. But I do want to, before we let you go, mention, or at least bring up to you, the quarterback situation. They still have Kitna, they still have Culpepper, they have Orlowski, who wants to come back. I think nobody else wants him, and that might be why. They drafted Drew Stanton, whose work you're familiar with, and they have the number one pick in the draft. Now, you've said that you would jump off a high building if the Lions took a quarterback in the first pick. Is that still your take on it? They should pass up a quarterback in the first pick and go in a different way?
Nose. I think it's the least of their needs right now. I really and truly, why have a guy come in and, the line, we're not going to play him right away. Sure, you're not.
Yeah.
You have a feeling he'd get in there, build the trenches, build the trenches, get that offensive line, get that defensive line. They need so much help on the whole defensive side of the ball. I'll just throw the whole defense in there. I think they have a guy on staff right now. They have a few guys on staff right now that can bridge the gap between brutality and respectability. And I think that's all you need. If next year you want to go after a quarterback because this just in, the Lions aren't going to be very good this year either, then so be it. But I think it's made easier, at least in my opinion. I don't thing.